Chapter 18, The Bean Flicking Technique, Dawn. Zhu Tui woke up from a deep slumber and slowly opened his eyes. He felt extremely energetic. His mind power was filled to the brim. It looks like the old battery theory of mind power is accurate. Zhu Tui had immediately fainted when he rushed his 15th genetic base point. Zhu Tui deduced that the reason for his fainting was that his mind power was completely depleted. When he woke up the next morning, Zhu Tui felt that his head was heavy and that he was extremely listless. On the contrary, during the training on the subsequent 2 days, Zhu Tui had quickly entered a state of sleep when he felt the extreme fatigue well up within him, which was a sign that his mind power was about to run out. Those times, he woke up brimming with energy. Zhu Tui once again silently imposed another training principle upon himself. Zhu Tui got out of the bed. The first thing he did was not to pee, but to step on the scales. He had trained after consuming the level F and level E energy restoration elixirs. If his weight still dropped drastically this morning, he could forget about training for the time being. The scales displayed 130 pounds. Zhu Tui felt a rock lift from his heart when he saw the number. He quickly went to pee. He weighed himself again after he peed, 129 pounds. Zhu Tui heaved a sigh of relief. He did not lose weight. He even gained 1 pound. However, the extent of the increase was too small. It was too slow compared to the speed at which he lost weight. Zhu Tui did not hurry to eat breakfast. It might be because he used the energy restoration elixirs, but he did not feel particularly hungry this morning. Zhu Tui first examined the changes to his body a little anxiously. Zhu Tui had experienced a prominent bodily sensation when he activated his 17th and 18th genetic base points yesterday night. Zhu Tui felt that those 2 genetic base points must be related to the extreme branch and that they would enhance his body's fundamental qualities. His left leg felt different. He felt that he was stepping heavier with his left leg when he walked. He felt as if he was limp. The leaping ability, fundamental strength, and even speed of his left leg were obviously much better than the right leg that he used more often. It felt like an increase of roughly 10%. It also seemed like it was an increase in the leg's overall abilities. If he had these qualities during the incident at the bubble tea store 2 days ago, Zhu Tui would have kicked with more speed. The Trader Autumn Pants would probably have been completely knocked out by the kick. This was the conclusion that Zhu Tui had come up with after a series of tests. He had limited testing conditions and could only make use of simple tests. He had to make do. The sensation he got from his right was different. It made Zhu Tui rather surprised. It was not hand speed. It was finger strength. At this moment, the fingers on Zhu Tui's right hand all harbored immense power. Zhu Tui could feel that strength even without having to test it. The joints in his fingers were also abnormally agile. He could cause the air to crackle with the flick of his finger. Zhu Tui was startled. This force behind his fingers. He froze for a moment, then suddenly took out a deck of cards from his drawer. He tossed a card forward. The card sliced through the air and hit the wall. It did not pierce into the wall. Back when he was a young teenager, Zhu Tui had practiced using poker cards as darts to look cool. Zhu Tui stopped, then suddenly reacted. Using poker cards as darts not only required technique and finger strength, but also required wrist strength and power from the forearm. Currently, he only had massive power in his fingers. He turned his gaze around the room and found a few round dried beans from the dried fruit platter on the table. He placed it between his fingers, then flicked it forward. Whoosh! The sound of the crackling air and the sound of the collision rang out at the same time. The dried bean had been pulverized. Zhu Tui could no longer find it. However, there was now another hole in the wall of Zhu Tui's bedroom. It was a hole that was roughly 2 inches deep. His wall was made out of cement and bricks, with a thin layer of wallpaper pasted over. Zhu Tui was dazed for a while when he saw the hole. He had a recurring thought in his mind. What if the target was a human body? What if the target was a vital spot like the head or eyes? If the dried bean was swapped for a metal object, the destructive force. If he had this ability 2 days ago, during the incident at the bubble tea store, it wouldn't have been that troublesome. Accuracy. Zhu Tui thought about yet another problem. It was not enough to just have power. He had to also be accurate. An attack to the vital spot was only effective if it hit the vital spot. For the next hour, Zhu Tui acted like he was possessed by a demon. He shot out bean after bean with his fingers. Everything in the house rang out from his shots. Fortunately, Zhu Tui had managed to control his strength. Otherwise, most of the furniture and electronics would have been destroyed if the house did not crumble first. He might not experience a farewell later. Instead, Mother Zhu would be chasing him out of the house with a cleaver. He gained a lot. Zhu Tui realized that the accuracy of his bean flicking technique was not great. When his target was about the size of a fist, Zhu Tui could hit the target 70% of the time if it was 5 meters away. His accuracy if the target was between 5 to 10 meters away from him was less than 50%. It would not matter much if he hit a target that was more than 10 meters away. However, Zhu Tui discovered something surprising when the target was roughly 3 meters away from him. Within the radius of Zhu Tui's mental perception, his bean flicking technique would hit the target 100% of the time. It also had immense power. Zhu Tui had estimated that the radius of his sensory abilities was roughly 3 meters when he was at Yu Ziping's office the other day. Today, he felt that the radius seemed to have grown a little. However, he had not done any exact measurements. Zhu Tui felt that he should keep a record of that radius. It was easy to test. He first closed his eyes and detected the longest distance of his sensory perception. After noting the position of the longest distance, Zhu Tui found himself a ruler and measured the distance, 3.12 meters. Zhu Tui took out a small notebook and made a note. Whether or not he had any growth during the past 2 days, he would be able to compare any future distance with this number to determine if there was any growth. He was about to set off. His mother was very worried. She was worried that Zhu Tui would not be full, worried that the food outside would not be good, worried that someone would bully Zhu Tui, worried that his clothes would not be washed when it was dirty, worried that Zhu Tui would be bullied while he was outside. What's there to be worried about? We can call him when he arrives at the school. His mother's worry eased considerably after she heard Zhu Jiangguo's straightforward attempts at consoling her. However, she did hope that Zhu Tui could bring a fridge with him before he left. She thought that Zhu Tui's luggage was too small. She wanted to stuff Zhu Tui's luggage bag and backpack with food. It would be best if he had space from another dimension. In the end, Zhu Jiangguo managed to stop his wife. They should be treated rather well along the way. If you stuff his bags with food, it would be a waste if it spoils along the way. It'll also make his bag heavy. That makes sense. However, Zhu Tui ultimately brought along a few more bags of snacks. He had prepared those for Cheng Mo. The feeling of his stomach churning in hunger was too uncomfortable. Also, Zhu Tui brought along a large bag of soybeans as a snack. They could also be used for his bean flicking technique. He also brought along a box of magnetic balls. It was a stress relief toy. He would play with them occasionally when he was studying. He brought them along today because he heard that these toys were made of metal. They were heavy. Zhu Tui did not know if they were hollow inside. However, these toys were definitely much sturdier than soybeans. Ever since the stalking and the incident at the bubble tea store, Zhu Tui's desire to protect himself had become much stronger. Study hard when you get there. The future is very exciting, but also very cruel. Work hard. Yu Zeping gave Zhu Tui a tight hug at the gathering spot. Cheng Mo, you too. Even though you eat a lot, you would not become fatter if you manage to expend the calories. Why Yu Zeping encouraged? Don't worry, teacher. I hope that you would bring along a girlfriend to visit a year later. It's best if she knows how to have a laugh. Cheng Mo, who was smiling, felt his heart become sour. He broke away from Yu Zeping, who was still hugging him, and immediately turned to leave. He kept his luggage and got onto the bus, waving along the way. Don't worry, teacher. I definitely will. 1 year later, I'll visit you with the bell of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College. Yes, good. Yu Zeping had a wide smile. He suddenly shouted, don't forget to bring a case of cigarettes. Zhu Tui and Cheng Mo, who were about to board the bus, staggered. The image had changed too quickly. My God, Cheng Mo, you bastard. Have you forgotten that case of cigarettes that I've placed in my drawer for 2 months? There are only 1 or 2 cigarettes in every pack after I opened the case. Aren't you the one who did it? Do you really have to make me say that a pig smoked those? Yu Zeping roared. Teacher, you also smoked those, all right? Cheng Mo looked back and gave a hushed retort. He froze for a moment. Yu Zeping, who had now just come to his senses, jumped in fury. Cheng Mo started to board the bus. A voice in the maglev bus caused Zhu Tui, who had boarded the bus first, to knit his brows. He felt a little displeased. You want to return with the belle of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College. You must be dreaming, a teenager with a muscular, yet streamlined frame, snorted coldly. Tongqi, he is not just dreaming. Do you know who he is? Hemin Kakshuan, who had also boarded the bus, laughed as he spoke. Who? Heshing Mo, the person who activated the rice bucket genetic base points. Oh, did you read yesterday's news? The rice bucket teenager who was escorted out of the buffet restaurant. That's him. Hemin Kakshuan pointed toward Cheng Mo, who was still boarding the bus, and laughed. He activated the rice bucket genetic base points, and he wants to date the school belle. He wouldn't even have a chance with the grass. He must be a fool to have such a dream, right? Hemin Kakshuan laughed to compliment the scene. He had not finished laughing when Zhu Tui arrived in front of him with a furious expression.